Hey, I'm Supats, lifelong solopreneur. Now living my life with only one passion to help solopreneurs to launch their digital products on fast track so that they can be profitable as fast as within 1 week, and they want to scale, they can join the membership. And as a bonus, I show them how they can sell their digital products all over the world using affiliates. Without further delay, let's get started. Okay, so hey, today we are on a treat. Today we are going to talk to Angela Fowler, and she is not your regular guest you get on New Beginning podcast. She is really amazing. She she is the one who is going to take away all the excuses you have in your life. And without me going into real detail, let me invite Angela and let her start talking about it. So here is Angela Fowler. Angela, hello, can you hear me? Angela?
Did that work?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Must
Okay.
turn microphone on to be heard.
Okay, let's get started.
It's
Yeah,
incredible how
so
that works.
we just want to know, the audience wants to know more about you.
Well, you said that I'm not a regular podcast guest. I don't think I'm a regular anything. I'm a totally blind um, single mom, although he's 18, I still count as a single mom. Businesswoman, homeowner, um, and a woman who likes to drink beer and watch football. So there is nothing typical about me, and I wouldn't have it any other way.
Okay, but hey, we want to know more about how we can unlock 2.5 trillion opportunity, okay? And that surely you can help. So without further delay, let's get started. We want to know about your story. We want to know about your struggles. We want to know about your success. So let's get started. I want to know more about your story.
Absolutely. So I grew up, I've been totally blind all my life. And I grew up with, my parents were as supportive as they could be. There were some things that they didn't know how a blind person did. So I didn't, but for the most part, they were willing to explore and figure it out. And this was back in the 80s. There wasn't the widespread knowledge of blindness techniques that there is now. It's still not enough. Not enough people know how blind people do things. That's part of the reason that one of the things that I do with real life access is educate. But it's better than it used to be. Um, so I went through school, and when I became an adult, got I joined the basically a civil rights advocacy movement for blind people. Um, because I found that a lot of the things that I tried to do, there were barriers, right? Either the website wasn't accessible or people didn't understand how a blind person did things, so they hesitated to let me participate. So I thought the answer was the advocacy movement. And don't get me wrong, the advocacy movement is doing good work. But sometimes we need a different message. Because oftentimes, if you spend too much time advocating, you start getting angry. You start becoming an angry advocate. And that was my mindset until I took a job working for the Department of Veterans Affairs, not for them directly, but as a government contractor. And I started actually talking to web designers and web developers and teaching them how to make their websites accessible. And I realized while these folks had widely varying degrees of knowledge on accessibility, they all wanted to do the right thing. Even those who were initially hesitant, people don't like change. Uh,
Oh, yeah.
people hate change. So even
Hmm.
those who were initially hesitant ended up being my strongest supporters once they saw the human benefit of accessibility. Once they saw, okay, this is how making these changes is going to affect the human beings that are going to be using my website. So I got to thinking, and I applied that to business leaders, and even to corporations. Most people want to do the right thing. They just don't know what the right thing
Oh,
is.
yeah.
And in some cases, they don't even know there is a right thing.
Or many times they are doing the wrong things and they are thinking that is the right thing.
Yeah, and the advocacy movement tends to see everything as a nail. So they want to use the hammer for everything. The hammer being litigation, the hammer being, oh, this person is discriminating against us. No, they're probably not. They probably just don't know. You know, just because the ADA has been in place for 30 years, 30 plus years, doesn't mean everybody knows about disability and about the capabilities of blind people and people with other disabilities. So my job is first and foremost to educate. And it turns out when you start making changes you need to make things accessible, things become more user friendly for everybody.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so, for example, a website that is laid out intuitively, where there's a clean and simple design, where there isn't a lot of distracting razzle dazzle, it doesn't just affect people with disabilities. It affects people who aren't very good with technology, people who are, I don't know, maybe distracted by something else, people who just don't have time to figure out how to get past all that fancy stuff and do what they need to do. Um, and as it turns out, when you make your business more accessible, when you make your business more user friendly, you end up profiting. Um, and I focus on web accessibility, but there's other categories of accessibility that I'll get into later. But when you make a quality investment in web accessibility, some investments are better than others, but when you make a quality investment in web accessibility, you can get up to a 9x return on that investment.
Absolutely. Means, I have studied SEO. I have created a even course on SEO. And the second name for SEO is user experience. The better
Yep.
user experience, the better SEO is. Because if you are giving better user experience, the people will stick to your site for longer. And then Google or whatever SEO platform you are using, they will get the trigger that, okay, people are staying on this platform longer. And that is how they will, yeah, they will bring your site more and more on the top ranking. So it is a very simple formula, a very simple thing, but yeah, it is overlooked. Sure. Sorry to interrupt you, but just wanted to tell you that, yeah, it is so important.
And you mentioned user experience. Accessibility is an integral part of user experience. And I
Yeah.
think the mistake a lot of people make is they design their website based on aesthetics and based on branding. Uh,
Hmm.
and while branding is an important part, you want to design the user experience first, in the same way that you would not decorate your house before you built it.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. You cannot go wrong. Yeah, you have to follow the certain steps and you have to go in the right direction. Absolutely right. Absolutely right. So, who are these people who can use these services? Surely understand that anyone who has a website must use these services. So, but still, I want to know who is your ideal customer who can use all your expertise.
My ideal customer is a business that is small enough that I can actually talk to decision makers.
Okay, no bureaucracy, huh?
Some corporations are so insular that it's a lot harder to get in front of them. But sometimes you can get in front of them, and that's I want to start with businesses that I can talk to. Because once I can sit down, and I like to say, if I can sit down and have a beer with you, which doesn't have to involve alcohol, but figure of speech. If I can sit down and have a beer with you, I can convince you of the need to be accessible. And if I can do that, that's the first step, right? Because businesses solve a problem. That's why businesses exist. They solve a problem. And a lot of people don't know they have a problem.
Mm-hmm.
So the first thing I need to do is convince businesses they have a problem.
Oh, yeah. So, how did
And
your business evolve? How did
hmm,
it start and how did it evolve?
I'm sorry.
How did your business evolve? How was the start and now you are at certain stage? So I just want to know how did it evolve?
We launched a venture in 2022. That
Mm-hmm.
did not work out. And it didn't work out because the partners involved were pulling in different directions. We didn't have the same vision for what an accessibility company should be. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and at the time, I don't think I was very clear on myself on what an accessibility company should be. I was still, you know, I still had the advocate mentality, even though I started the job that changed everything in early 2021. It takes a while for mindsets to shift sometimes.
Oh,
Um,
yeah.
I knew I wanted to do something different, but I didn't know exactly what that was going to look like. So I ended up partnering with somebody who was still very much in the advocate mindset and very this partner was more in the advocate mindset than I was out of the advocate mindset. So it really became a tug of war. Um, Needless to say, that didn't work out so good.
Uh-huh.
So the business broke up, and I spent a good part of 2023 just like whoa, what happened there? I just went through a very bitter business divorce, and but by the time late 2023 happened, I realized I want to try this again. Um, so I started doing a lot of the foundational work. I made sure I had my business license figured out. I built the website. I started building my flagship courses. And throughout late 2023 and early 2024, that was what I was doing. I was building the foundation for what is now real life access. And then the latter part of 2024 has been spent building a network, getting my voice, getting myself out there, doing podcast interviews, and really, and this is going to continue into 2025, really becoming or seeking to become a thought leader in accessibility.
Good thing you answered my question because I was going to ask you, so what is the plan for 2025? But you already answered. So thanks a lot. So, why do you offer coaching and consulting services rather than just finding and fixing issues that clients have on their website?
That is a very good question. I could fix your website. Let's stick to websites because every business, well, not every business. If I say that, the exception is going to contact me. I don't have a website. You're the exception that proves the rule. The great majority of businesses have websites, so it's always a really good place to start. Um, I can fix all the accessibility errors in your website, and I can charge you a lot of money. Then, if you don't know accessibility, you're going to update your website. You're going to add new things. You're going to come out with some new and improved, you know, payment processor or something that might or might not be accessible. And eventually, the accessibility of your website is going to be broken.
um,
Then you're going to have to contact me again, and I can fix your website again, and I can charge you a bunch of money again.
so it's a
But
never-ending loop, huh?
yeah, that doesn't, yeah. But if I teach you how to be accessible, or because most people have other people developing their website. If I can teach your web developer how to build an accessible website.
So it is, yeah, you are giving them means basically a training on how
Yeah.
to fish instead of giving them a ready-made fish.
Well, that's a much better investment for you. And in terms of my own business sustainability, I'm not worried. Over 90% of websites have accessibility issues. Now, this is not to say that if you want us to fix your website, I've got a team that can do that. So we can fix your website, no problem there. But I'd rather teach you how to do it.
So you mentioned actually if you provide accessibility to your website, you can 9x the return on your investment.
Mm-hmm.
So tell me, how is it possible? Because many people don't even know that is the issue. So will you please elaborate more on that point?
Right. So the first thing that I would have all business owners do is be their own customer. Um, Take a spin through their own website from the point of view of somebody who hasn't done it before. Um, that's a quick test, an easy test, and most people don't do it, right? They trust that their web developer built them a usable website.
Mm-hmm.
But sometimes you're going to find problems. Sometimes you're going to find a form that you really don't know how to, don't know what information goes where. Sometimes you're not going to be able to find the add to cart button. Sometimes the add to cart button is going to be small and you have trouble seeing it. On and on and on and on and on, right? So if your website doesn't pass that basic test, then you have accessibility issues. Now, another thing you can do is go to your website and put your mouse away. You can have
Hmm.
it back in a minute, but right now put it away. Um, Tab through all of the elements on your website, all of the clickable things on your website, and try to interact with them. Try to hit enter on them, try to hit space if it's a button. And if you can't tab to all the things on your website, if you can't, keyboard accessibility is critical to an accessible website, not only for blind people, but for people who have motor difficulties that they can't use a mouse. People who use dictation software where they actually tell their computer, click on the apply button. Um, that technology acts like a keyboard. Don't ask me how, it just does.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so if your website fails that basic keyboard test, then you have accessibility problems. Um, if form fields and links are not labeled properly, most people do not speak icon. Or, well, no, some people don't. A lot of people do. But icons sometimes mean different things to different people. Some people just can't process it, and screen readers often have trouble with it. So if your form fields and your links and your buttons and things don't have text labels, or those text labels are not associated with the element. So if you can click on a label and put focus, say for example, you click on the label first name and focus goes into the first name field, that means that that label is associated with that field so that when a screen reader tabs through it, then it reads the name of the field. So oh, okay, this is where I type my first name. That's another basic accessibility test that you can perform. And if your website fails any of those tests, call me.
Oh, sure. So, does it interfere with mobile friendliness? Because I think most people go mainly for the desktop and mobile friendliness. So does it interfere in any of those things?
I'm sorry, can you repeat that question?
Mobile friendly. See, if people, web developers, I think they are looking mainly uh, website how it will look on computer and how it will look on mobile device. So does it interfere with your on display on your cell phone or iPad or
Oh, okay. Yeah, so what you're talking about is responsive design. You're talking about a website that actually displays on desktop, and then if you open it in mobile, in the mobile
Yeah.
phone, it will display properly on your phone, and that's important to accessibility too, and not just for websites, right? Because people have different size displays. Some people who have low vision have really big displays. So,
Okay.
so
Okay.
yeah, that's and your keyboard fixes, labels that are accessible, they also help with mobile accessibility as well.
Yeah, and you also say that 25% of people have disability, but I never knew that. So will you please elaborate? Will you please explain that?
I'm sorry, you want me to elaborate on what?
25% people have a disability. That is what you told me. 25%
People who have
disability. Disability. Dis.
disabilities.
Mhm.
So you want me to elaborate on the different kinds of disabilities? I'm sorry, I'm having a lot of trouble understanding you.
No, because the 25% sounds such a big number. I did.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
okay. How I came to my statistics about disability.
Yeah.
Um, So there's a number of things that go into that. First and foremost, if you look at the government statistics on disability, they are not going to count seniors. They are just going to account the 18 to 64 crowd, which makes no sense, right? Because not only they're not counting seniors, they're not counting kids with disabilities either. But seniors obviously have the highest rate of people with disabilities. Um, Also, this is why this doesn't seem to pass the optics test, because most disabilities are not visible. Either the disabilities themselves aren't visible, or people do all they can to conceal them. They don't want to appear abnormal. Um, People with disabilities, because there's so much misunderstanding out there, and because it is a little tougher to line up transportation when you can't jump in a car and drive. People with disabilities are more likely to opt to have groceries delivered, or maybe work from home, or things that doesn't necessitate going out in public as much. So you don't see all the people with disabilities that are out there.
Hmm.
And let me just say one thing: if you met one person with a disability, you met one person with a disability. Um, you're going to meet somebody and you're going to make certain judgments about what they're capable of, what they can do. Um, but know that the only thing that is informing you on, and it may not even be, that person might be having a bad day. The only thing that it might even come close to informing you on is the capabilities of that one person.
So I talked to many people about their New Year's goal, and nobody has kept the separate budget for this particular thing. So what can you tell them? They haven't put money aside for accessibility on their website or something. So what can you tell them?
Well, let me just say two things. One, people don't know that it's a priority, so of course they're not going to put it in their budget. Um, But if you start working on accessibility, if you start working on the most egregious things first, then you're improving. It looks better. It's more usable for your customers. The major blocks are gone. And from a legal perspective, if you're working on accessibility and you have an accessibility statement that says you're working on accessibility, you're a lot less likely to get sued. Um, so what I would say to that business is, okay, let's work on fixing the biggest mistakes first. And then in 2026, let's go. let's go all in with this. And let me say two things as well. That you may not have an accessibility line item, but maybe you have a training line item. Maybe your employees have a continuing education budget. If your web developer has a continuing education budget, they can allocate those funds to learning about accessibility. Um, Maybe your company has a DEI budget. Let's spend that money on something that is going to truly lead to greater inclusion.
Okay, yeah, that is a really great point. And you said you teach people how to work on their website. So is it a group program or is it a one-on-one?
Right, it can come out of the education budget. There's a number of creative ways that we can do this.
Okay. So is it a so how much time does it take to revamp the website? What is the time limit? How much time does it take?
It varies greatly, and there's no real time limit. Obviously, you want to get it done as soon as possible, but if you're on a shoestring budget, then we're gonna piecemeal it over the next couple years.
Oh, okay.
Um, Smaller websites, you can probably fix in a matter of days if you've got the time and the budget to do so. Larger websites, especially major corporate websites, are probably going to need to be fixed in phases. That could be a matter of, the process could take as long as a couple years. But again, um, as long as you're working on it, because you gotta, there's a number of things that go into this, right? You got to prioritize the fixes that need to be made. You got to get everybody up to speed, which is sometimes that's the hardest part, right? You
Yeah.
can hand down an accessibility policy, but if your company isn't bought in to it, if your designers and your developers and whoever aren't trained on accessibility and don't understand the importance of accessibility, that policy becomes something that they resent, another corporate policy they got to follow. So
So
accessibility almost becomes a swear word in that case.
so if audience wants to contact you, how can they contact you?
Well, okay, so go to www.reallifeaccess.com, and it has all the things. It has my socials, it has a form you can fill out to email me, it has my newsletter subscription, it has a webinar, a bunch of some webinars and YouTube links and a whole bunch of stuff.
Okay, sure. And we are going to put into the description and also in the show notes so people can surely contact you. And we are almost actually end of our episode, but do you want to add something so that our audience can be blessed more? So if you want to add anything, any parting message, yeah, feel free to do that now.
If you go to my website and subscribe to my newsletter, you will get a list of the top 10 things you can start doing right now to improve the accessibility of your website, of your business. Not just your website, your business, because there's accessibility of your physical spaces, and then there's accessibility of your company culture. Um, how does your company culture respond to difference? Is difference ordinary, or is difference something to be feared? Um, So the top 10 things you can start doing right now to increase the accessibility of your business. Go on my website, subscribe to my newsletter. And I'm not going to spam you. In fact, I'm actually really bad about keeping my newsletter up to date, so you're not going to get nearly as many emails from me as you probably should. Um, so yeah, we're not one of those companies that sends you 95 emails a day. Uh,
Yeah, that's good to know. Thank you.
yeah.
Thank you for,
So
yeah,
You
thank
can
you for
you can
being.
subscribe to my newsletter. Rest assured that I'm usually going to forget to send out an issue. But when I
Yeah.
do send out an issue, it's actually going to have valuable things in there. It's going to have the latest products. It's going to have random accessibility tips. It's going to have, It's not just a fluff newsletter.
No, that's a really great New Year's gift. Totally appreciate. Thanks a lot. We really, really appreciate. It's a totally new field for me also. So, first thing, what I'm going to do, I'm going on my website and I'm going to do all these accessibility checks. Hey, and I will be your first client for sure. Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot for being a guest on our podcast. Thanks a lot for blessing our audience. And really means, hey, who doesn't want to 9x their business? And if that is possible with this simple tweak, we will do that. Thank you and God bless you.
Hey, thanks for joining us. We are blessed to have you as part of our community, and whatever way we can help you, serve you, let us know. Please subscribe and let us know how we can help you, what resources you want. We have lots of free resources and also free collaboration joint venture groups you can join and explode your business, because most solopreneurs quit their business before they launch their first products, and I don't want that to happen to you. And that's why we have special launch service where you can monetize your digitals and become profitable as fast as within 7 days. And if you want to scale your business, join our membership New Beginning Success Collaboration, where we'll provide you MRR and PLR products and collaborations so that you can scale your business with ease and effortlessly. And hey, if you want to sell your digitals all over the world, yes, we will provide you affiliates more than 200 countries. So everything is possible. Just live your dream, follow your dream, and whichever way we can help you, do let us know. Thank you and God bless you.